I broke rule number 1 at the Walmart warehouse last night. I can hear them in the walls now. My hands won't stop shaking as I type this. It's 3:47 a.m., and I've got maybe an hour before my apartment finishes, changing, before I become like Derek, like the others. But you need to know what's happening in these warehouses. You need to understand why some Walmart employees look dead behind the eyes. Let me start from the beginning. 2 months ago, I was desperate. Rent was overdue, my car was dying, and I'd applied to every job within a 50-mile radius. That's when I saw the posting. Night shift warehouse associate, Walmart Distribution Center, number 44499. $20 an hour, way above minimum wage for warehouse work. The interview was wrong. I know that now. The hiring manager, Deb, had this smile that never reached her eyes. She barely asked about my experience. Instead, she kept asking weird questions. How do you feel about following rules? Are you comfortable with strict protocols? Do you have any issues with peripheral vision? That last one should have been my warning. When she slid a laminated card across the desk and said I got the job, I just nodded. These are the warehouse rules, she said, her smile stretching wider. They must be followed without exception. Most people who break them don't get the chance to post about it online. I laughed. She didn't. The card had 13 rules printed in small, precise text. Never take anything home from the warehouse. Don't look up at row 7. If you hear children laughing between 2 to 4 a.m., count to 30 before moving. Never work alone in Section D after 2 a.m. The freezer section requires exactly 2 people. Never more, never less. If you see yourself on the security monitors, don't acknowledge it. If a customer asks for help finding their child, do not assist. Radio security and leave immediately. Damaged goods in row 19 must be left untouched. Ched until morning shift. Don't answer phones that ring 3 times and stop. If the lights flicker in sequence, close your eyes until it stops. Never follow the yellow lines after midnight. Items without barcodes don't exist. Ignore them. If you find a door that wasn't there before, report it, but don't open it. Hazing, I thought. Cute. I was so fucking wrong. My first night was a Tuesday. I showed up at 10 p.m., ready for 8 hours of moving boxes and scanning barcodes. The warehouse was massive, the kind of place where you could fit several football fields and still have room. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in that sick, pale glow that makes 3 a.m. feel like purgatory. Derek met me at the employee entrance. 6'4", built like someone who'd been moving freight for years, with burn scars covering the left side of his face and neck. He caught me staring. Row 7, he said simply. First week on the job. Looked up. He tapped the scarred skin. This was the warning. Now I train the newbies so they don't end up like me, or worse. I forced a laugh. Come on, man. You're really committing to the bit. Derek didn't smile. Follow me. Stay close. And whatever you do, keep your eyes on the floor when we pass row 7. The tour was surreal. Derek walked me through a warehouse that seemed normal at first glance. Towering shelves, forklifts beeping in the distance, the smell of cardboard and industrial cleaner. But details were off. Some aisles stretched longer than they should. The numbers on the rows didn't always go in order, and the other workers, they moved like people who'd learned to be afraid. Quick, efficient movements. Eyes down. Nobody talked unless necessary. When they did speak, it was in hushed whispers, like kids trying not to wake their parents. Section A through C, that's your standard freight, Derek explained, his voice flat and professional. Electronics, home goods, groceries, normal stuff. Section D, he paused. Section D is special freight. You'll work there eventually, but never alone. Never after 2 a.m. That's Rule 4. What happens after 2 a.m.? The last guy who worked Section D alone came back speaking backwards, not like saying words in reverse order. I mean, every sound that came out of his mouth was reversed. Corporate said it was a stroke. Gave his family a nice settlement to keep quiet. We passed row 7. I kept my eyes down, but peripheral vision is a bitch. I caught a glimpse of something dark moving along the ceiling. Something that didn't match the industrial fixtures. "Eyes down," Derek hissed. "First glimpse is free, second one costs." The freezer section was at the back of the warehouse, behind heavy plastic curtains. The temperature drop was immediate and brutal. Our breath came out in clouds as Derek showed me the inventory system. "Rule 5 is critical here," he said. "Exactly 2 people. Never more, never less. You go in alone, the cold finds you. 3 or more." He shuddered. "It gets confused. Angry. We lost a whole crew in 2019. "The cold finds you? What does that even mean?" Derek looked at me with something like pity. "You'll understand if you last long enough. For now, just follow the rules. They're not suggestions. They're not hazing. They're survival." The rest of the night passed in a blur of training videos, safety protocols, and Derek's increasingly disturbing warnings. By 6 a.m., when the morning shift started arriving, I was exhausted but skeptical. It all felt like an elaborate prank, a way to mess with the new guy. That skepticism lasted exactly 1 week. It was Tony who made me believe. Tony Ramirez, a guy about my age who'd been working there for 3 months. Aunts. Funny dude. Always had a joke ready. Until the night he looked up at row 7. I was sorting packages in section B when I heard the scream. Not a normal scream. This was primal, the kind of sound that bypasses your brain and goes straight to your spine. By the time I got there, Derek was already pulling Tony away from row 7. Tony's hands were clawing at his eyes, leaving bloody furrows in his cheeks. "I can see it!" he kept screaming. "It's inside! It's looking back! Get it out! Get it out! Get it out!" Security sedated him, took him away in an ambulance. When he came back 2 weeks later, he wore dark sunglasses all the time. Said the doctors found nothing wrong with his eyes, but light hurt now. All light. He worked with his eyes closed, navigating by memory and touch. "I can still see it sometimes," he told me during break, his voice hollow. "When I close my eyes, it's there. Waiting. Watching. Learning my face." That's when I started documenting everything. Every weird occurrence, every rule violation, every consequence. My phone filled with blurry photos of things that shouldn't exist, videos of shadows moving wrong, audio recordings of sounds that made my teeth ache. Sarah from Section C broke Rule 4, worked alone in Section D because we were short-staffed and she needed the overtime. When Derek found her 3 hours later, she was standing in the middle of the aisle, perfectly still, facing the wall. "Sarah," he'd called out. "You okay?" She turned around slowly, opened her mouth. The words that came out were backwards, like someone had reversed the audio. But I understood them. We all did. She was saying "help me" over and over, but the sounds were all wrong. Like her throat had forgotten how to make words the right way. Corporate sent her to a specialist. Said she'd had a stroke, just like the last guy. But strokes don't make you speak in reverse. Strokes don't make your shadow lag behind your movements. Strokes don't make you cry tears that freeze before they reach your cheeks. The pattern was clear. Break a rule, pay a price. But why? What was in this warehouse that required such specific protocols? That's when I made my second mistake. I started asking questions. "You want to know why?" Derek said one night during break. We were sitting in the parking lot, far from the building, sharing a cigarette neither of us really wanted. "You really want to know what Walmart built this place on?" I nodded. He pulled out a battered notebook from his jacket. The cover was held together with duct tape, pages swollen with moisture and age. 15 years I've been here. 15 years of watching people break rules and pay for it. I started writing it all down after... He touched his scars. After row 7 taught me to believe. The journal was a chronicle of horror. Incident reports, hand-drawn maps, theories scribbled in margins. According to Derek, Walmart got the land for this distribution center cheap. Too cheap. The previous owner, some old money family, had refused to develop it for generations. Kept it empty. Kept it contained. But Walmart needed a distribution hub for the tri-state area, Derek continued. They made a deal. Don't ask me with who or what. But the deal came with conditions, agreements, what we call rules. He flipped to a page covered in sketches, rough drawings of things that hurt to look at. Each section of the warehouse contains something. Section D has the backwards place. That's what makes people speak in reverse. It's like a room that exists in the wrong direction. The freezer doesn't need refrigeration. The cold there is alive. It feeds on warmth, on life. Stay too long alone, and it hollows you out, leaves you as cold as the goods you're moving. And row 7? Derek shuddered. Row 7 is where they keep the watchers, things that exist in the space between spaces. You look at them, they look back. And once they've seen you, really seen you, they never stop watching. Tony's lucky he only glimpsed one. Full eye contact? He shook his head. We had a guy, years back, stared right at them for maybe 10 seconds. By the time security got to him, his eyes had migrated, moved to where his ears should be. Said he could see everything all at once from every angle. Corporate made that one disappear real quick. I wanted to laugh, wanted to call bullshit. But I'd seen Tony's breakdown, heard Sarah's backwards pleas, felt the wrongness in the air every night I clocked in. Why doesn't anyone quit? I asked. Some do. The smart ones, the ones who follow the rules, do their time and get out before they see too much. Derek lit another cigarette with shaking hands. But most of us, we've seen things, changed in small ways. The warehouse marks you. Try to leave and you'll find yourself driving back. Try to call in sick and your phone won't work. Try to tell anyone outside and the words won't come out right. He was right. I'd tried telling my roommate about the weird stuff at work. Every time I opened my mouth, the words rearranged themselves, came out as normal workplace complaints. The warehouse protected itself. There's more, Derek said, flipping through pages. The things here, they're not random. They're collected, contained. Walmart isn't just a retail corporation. It's... He struggled for words. It's like a net, catching things that shouldn't exist, keeping them busy, keeping them fed. Fed? Why do you think turnover is so high? Every year we lose people, not fired, not quit, lost. Corporate writes them off as workplace accidents, pays the families and hires fresh meat. We're not just workers. We're part of the ecosystem, part of the food chain. He showed me a page listing names and dates, dozens of them. The missing ones, the ones who broke too many rules or broke two. He wrong rule at the wrong time. The warehouse took them, absorbed them. They're still here in a way. Sometimes you can hear them in the walls. Sometimes they're the ones laughing in Section D at 3 a.m. That's when I understood. The rules weren't just protection, they were a treaty, a balance. As long as we followed them, we could coexist with whatever Walmart had trapped here, break them, and we became fair game. But understanding didn't make it easier. If anything, it made every shift a nightmare of vigilance and fear. Counting to 30 when phantom children laughed. Averting my eyes from row 7. Working in carefully coordinated pairs in the freezer, watching each other for signs that the cold was taking hold. I lasted 3 weeks before I broke my first major rule. It was a Thursday night, around 1 a.m. I was doing inventory in Section B when I heard crying. Not the phantom children. This sounded adult, desperate, real. A woman's voice, echoing from deeper in the warehouse. Please, someone help me. I can't find my daughter. Rule 7. If a customer asks for help finding their child, do not assist. Radio security and leave immediately. But how could a customer even get into the warehouse at night? We were locked down, security at every entrance. And the crying sounded so genuine, so heartbroken. My hand hovered over my radio, but something made me hesitate. What if it was a real person? What if someone's kid was actually lost? I made my way toward the sound, past rows of shrink-wrapped pallets and towering shelves. The crying led me deeper, into sections I hadn't worked before. The lights here were dimmer, casting long shadows that seemed to move independently of their sources. "Hello?" I called out. "Ma'am? Are you okay?" "Oh, thank God." The voice was closer now, just around the corner. "Please, my daughter. She's only 6. She wandered off and I can't find her anywhere." I turned the corner and saw her. A woman in her 30s, wearing a floral dress that looked outdated, like something from the 199, as her face was streaked with tears, hands wringing anxiously. She looked so normal, so human, that I almost forgot the rule. "Please," she said, reaching out to me. "Her name is Emma. She's wearing a pink jacket. Have you seen her?" "Ma'am, how did you get in here? This is a restricted area." Her face contorted with anguish. "Does it matter? My baby is missing. Please, just help me look." Against every instinct screaming at me to run, I nodded. Okay, let's look for Emma." The woman's relief was palpable. She grabbed my hand. Her skin was cold, too cold, and pulled me deeper into the warehouse. We passed rows I didn't recognize, sections that weren't on any map Derek had shown me. The air grew thick, oppressive, like breathing through wet cloth. "Emma!" the woman called out. "Emma! Sweetie, where are you?" Then I heard it. A child's giggle, high and sweet, coming from a shipping container at the end of the row. The woman's grip on my hand tightened, her nails digging into my skin. "There!" she exclaimed. "She's in there!" The shipping container was old, rust eating at its edges. It shouldn't have been in this section. We didn't store anything in loose containers. But the giggling continued, drawing us closer. I reached for the handle, and that's when my radio crackled to life. "Code 7! Code 7 in Section F!" Derek's voice panicked. "All personnel evacuate Section F immediately. Do not engage. Do not assist." The woman's grip became crushing. When I looked at her, her face had shifted. The tears were still there, but her eyes were wrong. Too many pupils. Her smile was too wide, showing teeth that went back too far. "Open it," she whispered, and her voice was layered now, like multiple people speaking in unison. "My daughter is waiting." I tried to pull away, but her strength was inhuman. She dragged me to the container, forced me. I hand onto the handle. The metal was ice cold, burning my palm. The giggling inside became laughter, but it wasn't a child's anymore. It was old, ancient, hungry. "Open it." The container door swung open, and I saw what was inside. Not a child. Never a child. It wore a pink jacket, yes, but what filled it wasn't human. It was a writhing mass of something between flesh and shadow, with a face that kept trying to form features, but couldn't quite remember how. When it smiled, reality hiccuped. "Mommy found someone to play with," it said in a voice like breaking glass. I screamed, wrenched myself free with strength born of pure terror, and ran. Behind me, the woman thing shrieked in frustration, a sound that made my teeth ache and my vision blur. I could hear them following, the mother's heels clicking on concrete in a rhythm that didn't match footsteps, the child thing laughing in frequencies that shouldn't exist. I burst through a fire door and almost collided with Derek, who grabbed me and didn't stop moving until we were in the break room 3 sections away. He slammed the door, locked it, and shoved a salt line under the gap. "You looked at them," he said, checking my eyes with a flashlight. "The Fishers. That's what we call them. They're not mother and daughter. They're anglers. The crying is bait. The child is the hook. And what reels you in?" He shuddered. 7 people have opened that container. We only found pieces of 3. I was shaking, couldn't stop. What are they? Nobody knows. They've been here since before the warehouse. Maybe they came with the land. Maybe Walmart brought them in. But they're contained, mostly. As long as nobody opens that container, they just fish, cast their lines, wait for someone stupid enough to bite. Why doesn't Walmart just get rid of them? Derek laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think they haven't tried? First year I was here, corporate sent in a special team, hazmat suits, weapons, the works. They were going to clean Section F. Know what happened? The fishers turned them inside out. Literally, like someone had grabbed them by the spine and pulled. After that, corporate decided containment was better than elimination. That night changed me. I followed the rules religiously after that, counted to 30 when I heard children laughing, kept my eyes down passing row 7, never ever went near Section F alone. But the warehouse had other plans. A month into the job, I experienced Rule 10. If the lights flicker in sequence, close your eyes until it stops. I was in Section C, scanning pallets of electronics, when the fluorescents started their dance. One by one, left to right, they dimmed and brightened in a wave pattern. I squeezed my eyes shut, but I could still see the light through my eyelids. And in that strobing darkness, I saw things. Shadows of workers who weren't there, shelves that extended infinitely upward, and something massive moving between the aisles, something that scraped the ceiling 40 feet above. When the lights finally stopped and I opened my eyes, everything looked normal, except for the scratches on the ceiling tiles, fresh ones, like something with claws had been trying to dig through. Rule 6 hit me 2 weeks later. I was checking inventory numbers against the computer when I glanced at the security monitor. There I was, clear as day, standing at my workstation. Normal, right? Except I was also on another monitor, in Section D, and another in the freezer, all at the same time. The other me's moved wrong, jerky, like a video skipping frames. One was scanning items I wasn't touching, another was having a conversation with someone who wasn't there. The freezer one was screaming silently, pounding on the door from the inside. I didn't acknowledge it, kept my eyes on my work, but I could feel them watching me through the cameras, all of them. The other versions of me that the warehouse had somehow created or captured. Derek later told me they were echoes, imprints left by workers who'd spent too long here. Sometimes they synced up with their originals. Sometimes they didn't. Just don't look too long, he warned. Sometimes they notice, sometimes they want to trade places. But it was Rule 11 that nearly got me. Never follow the yellow lines after midnight. The yellow lines were safety guides, painted on the floor to show forklift routes and walking paths. During normal hours, they were just paint. After midnight, they led somewhere else. I discovered this by accident. Was pushing a cart full of returns, following the yellow line to Section B like always. But I was tired, distracted, checking my phone. Didn't notice when the line veered off its usual path. Didn't notice the air getting thicker, the lights getting dimmer. When I finally looked up, I wasn't in Section B. Wasn't in any section I recognized. The warehouse around me was wrong. Shelves that twisted like DNA helixes, products that hurt to look at, things in jars that knocked against the glass when I passed. The yellow line stretched ahead into darkness. Behind me, it was already fading, the paint evaporating like morning mist. If it disappeared completely, I'd be lost in whatever parallel version of the warehouse this was. I ran. Followed that line like my life depended on it, because it probably did. Past aisles where gravity worked sideways, where the products were made of meat and bone, where the barcode screamed when scanned. The line grew fainter with each step. I burst back into the real warehouse, just as the last of the yellow paint vanished. Collapsed on the floor, gasping. When I looked back, there was no sign of where I'd been, just the normal yellow line, leading to Section B like always. Derek found me there an hour later, helped me to the break room, gave me coffee with hands that shook almost as bad as mine. The yellow lines are roads, he explained. During the day they're anchored, fixed. After midnight they remember what they used to be. Before Walmart, art. Before the warehouse. They lead to the old places, the spaces between spaces. Follow them too far and you might not come back. Or worse, you might come back wrong. He showed me a photo in his journal. A woman smiling at the camera. Normal looking, except her shadow was facing the wrong direction. Linda. Followed the lines for 3 hours before we found her. She seemed fine. Worked another 2 years. Then one day she opened her mouth to say good morning, and 1,000 moths flew out. Haven't seen her since. The moths are still here, though. Sometimes you can hear them in the walls. 5 weeks in, I thought I had it figured out. Follow the rules, keep your head down, collect your paycheck. The warehouse was dangerous, yes, but manageable. Like working with heavy machinery or toxic chemicals, respect the safety protocols and you'll be fine. That's when I met the night manager. I'd seen her name on schedules, M. Chen, but never met her in person. She worked the deep night shift, 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., handling the special logistics that Derek wouldn't elaborate on. I was working late, overtime to cover a sick co-worker, when she appeared at my station. At first glance she looked normal, mid-40s, professional blazer, clipboard in hand. But something was off. Her movements were too smooth, like she was gliding instead of walking. Her smile was perfect, but her eyes reflected the fluorescent lights wrong. Instead of white glare, they showed depths, like looking into a well. "You're doing excellent work," she said, and her voice had that same layered quality as the fisherwoman. "Corporate has noticed. We're always looking for dedicated employees to move up." "Thanks," I managed, "but I'm good where I am." Her smile widened. "Oh, but you have potential. I can see it. The warehouse likes you. That's rare." "The warehouse likes me?" "Of course. It's not just a building, you know. It's an ecosystem, a living thing, and you're becoming part of it." She reached out and touched my shoulder. Her hand was ice cold through my shirt. "Some fight it. They break rules thinking rebellion will save them. Others follow every rule perfectly, thinking compliance will protect them. But you understand. The rules aren't chains. They're a dance. And you're learning the steps." She left before I could respond, gliding away into the shadows between aisles. When I told Derek about the encounter, his face went pale. "She offered you a promotion?" "Sort of. Said I had potential." "Fuck." He ran his hands through his hair. "Listen to me, very carefully. M. Chen isn't... She used to be human. Used to be like us. But she made a deal. Accepted the warehouse's offer. Now she's middle management. Not human. Not whatever lives here. Something in between." "What kind of deal?" "Survival. Power. Who knows? But the cost..." He pulled out his journal, flipped to a page covered in photos. All showed Monsieur Chen over the years. In the earliest ones from 2019, she looked normal, happy even. But with each progressive photo, something changed. Her shadow grew longer. Her reflection in mirrors became delayed. In the most recent photo, she cast no shadow at all. "She's becoming part of the warehouse," Derek whispered. "Literally. Sometimes, when she thinks no one's looking, her edges blur. Like she's melting into the background. In a few years, she won't need doors anymore. She'll just step out of walls when needed. Why would anyone agree to that? Because the alternative is worse. You've seen what happens to rule breakers, what the warehouse takes from them. But managers? They get to keep their minds, sort of. They become shepherds instead of sheep. They feed the warehouse and it feeds them." "Feed it what?" Derek Judd looked at me. And I understood. The missing workers, the ones who broke too many rules or the wrong rules, they didn't just disappear. They were processed, integrated, fed to whatever hungry things Walmart kept contained here. That's when I decided to quit. 5 weeks was enough. I'd saved some money, could find something else. Anything else. I went home that night, determined to never come back. But when I woke up the next evening, I was already in my car, in the warehouse parking lot, uniform on. I had no memory of driving there, no memory of getting dressed. My body had gone through the motions without me. The warehouse didn't want to let me go. I tried calling in sick. My phone wouldn't dial the number. Tried driving away. My car would only start if I was heading to work. Tried telling my roommate I was quitting. The words came out as, "I love my job." Derek wasn't surprised when I told him. "The warehouse marks you," he said. "Once you've been here long enough, seen enough, you're part of the ecosystem. It won't let you go until it's done with you, until you're used up." So we're trapped. Not trapped. Employed. There's a difference. We can leave when our time's up, when we've served our purpose. Some people work here for years and walk away fine. Others, he gestured vaguely at the walls, others become part of the infrastructure. 6 weeks in, I witnessed someone becoming infrastructure. His name was Paul. Older guy, been there 8 years. Quiet, followed every rule, never caused trouble. But he'd been slowing down lately, making mistakes. The warehouse had been patient, but patience has limits. It happened in Section D. Paul was scanning items when he just stopped. Stood there, scanner in hand, completely still. At first we thought he was having a stroke. But then his skin started changing, hardening, taking on the grey-beige colour of concretacity. Within minutes, he was a statue, a perfect concrete replica, still holding the scanner, still mid-motion. But his eyes tracked movement. Tears ran down his concrete cheeks, leaving salt deposits. M. Chen appeared moments later, clipboard in hand. "Structural reinforcement," she said, marking something on her paper. "The warehouse needs support pillars. Paul volunteered." "He didn't volunteer for shit," someone shouted. M. Chen's perfect smile never wavered. Employment is voluntary. He could have quit any time. But he chose to stay. Chose to become essential infrastructure. We should be grateful. She was right, in a twisted way. Paul could have left years ago. We all could have. But we stayed, thinking we could beat the system, thinking we could follow the rules and stay human. Now Paul stands in Section D, forever scanning an item that doesn't exist. Sometimes, late at night, you can hear him trying to scream through concrete lips. That should have been my breaking point. Should have made me run, warehouse be damned. But I was in too deep. The place had its hooks in me. I could feel it in my dreams, vast aisles extending infinitely, products whispering my name, the sound of forklifts like lullabies. So I stayed, kept working, kept following the rules. Until last night when I broke rule number 1, it was so stupid, so small. I was heading home after a particularly rough shift. Exhausted, distracted, thinking about Paul's concrete face. Didn't notice the shipping label stuck to my shoe until I was already home. The moment I crossed my apartment threshold, everything changed. The label was small, innocuous, but the barcode was wrong. Too many lines. They seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at them, and the shipping information. Contents: 1-1, standard worker unit, destination, warehouse integration, status, in transit, delive. Ride 8, immediate. My apartment started changing within minutes. The walls stretched, taking on the industrial beige of warehouse paint. The ceiling rose, sprouting fluorescent lights that hummed with familiar menace. My furniture rearranged itself into aisles. I tried to leave, but my door opened onto Section D. Not a view of Section D. It literally opened into the warehouse, thousands of miles from where it should be. I could see Paul's statue in the distance, still scanning, still crying concrete tears. The transformation accelerated. My kitchen became a break room, complete with motivational posters that hurt to read. My bedroom morphed into a manager's office, with filing cabinets full of employee records for people who didn't exist yet. That's when Derek called. Not on my phone, through the new intercom system growing from my wall like a tumor. "You brought it home," he said, voice distorted by static. "I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. But there's only one way now." "What way? How do I stop this?" "You don't stop it. You guide it. The warehouse wants to expand, needs to expand. You can fight it and end up like Paul, or you can accept it. Become management. Like Monsieur Chen. Like Monsieur Chen. It's not ideal, but it's survival. You keep your mind mostly, keep your form mostly, and you get to help others, guide them, keep them from making the same mistakes." I could feel the change accelerating. My skin felt too tight. My thoughts echoed like they were bouncing off industrial shelving. In the mirror, my reflection lagged a half-second behind my movements. How long do I have? Hours, maybe less. The integration is faster for those who've been marked longer. And you've been marked since week 1, since you saw the Watchers in row 7. He was right. I'd been changing since that first glimpse of something wrong. Each rule I'd witnessed, each horror I'd seen, Renese had been preparing me, marking me, making me suitable for integration. "There's a contract in your new office," Derek continued. "Sign it, and you become management. Don't sign it, and, well, you've seen the alternatives." I found the office he mentioned, what used to be my bedroom. The contract was there, written in languages that hurt to read. The terms were simple. I would serve the warehouse, guide new employees, maintain the balance between human workers and the things that lived in the shadows. In exchange, I would survive. Changed, but aware. Part of the system, instead of food for it. I signed it. What choice did I have? The moment my pen left paper, the pain hit. Every cell in my body screamed as it was rewritten, reformed, repurposed. I felt my edges blur, my connection to the warehouse solidify. Knowledge flooded in. The true names of the things in row 7, the feeding schedule for the fishers, the rotation pattern for the yellow lines. And the truth. The horrible cosmic truth of what Walmart really was. It's not just a corporation. It's a web. A net cast across reality, catching things that shouldn't exist. Every store, every warehouse, is a node in that web. And we, the workers, the managers, the infrastructure, we're the threads that hold it together. The things we contain aren't random anomalies, they're symptoms. Reality is sick, infected with impossibilities, and Walmart is the antibody. We process the madness, package it, distribute it in manageable doses. Every product on every shelf is a tiny piece of controlled chaos, keeping the infection from spreading. But antibodies need food, need resources, and that's where we come in. I'm finishing this post as my transformation completes. My fingers are already starting to phase through the keyboard occasionally. By tomorrow, I'll be able to step through walls, appear where needed, guide new employees through their first encounters with the impossible. I'll tell Titit, the rules are for their protection. I'll watch them break those rules anyway. I'll process the paperwork when they disappear and train their replacements. I'll become part of the system that consumed me. But first I need to warn you. Check your receipts. Any Walmart, any location. Look for items you didn't buy, SKUs that don't match the format, prices that don't make sense. The warehouse isn't just expanding through employees anymore. It's reaching out through every transaction, every delivery, every online order. If you find anomalies, burn the receipt. Return the items. Don't let them into your home. And if you see a job posting for a warehouse position with surprisingly good pay, keep scrolling. Some jobs cost more than time. Some jobs cost your humanity. But the pay is good, and we're always hiring. Just remember the rules. All of them. Especially rule number 1.